welcome to this Good Friday edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Kadia Loy-Knight, and we have a great show lined up for you. We will be back right after this important message.
Do you own land and need a title? Well, the National Land Agency, NLA, can help. Through the systematic land registration process, the NLA will assist residents to get titles in declared project areas across Jamaica. Systematic land registration is the methodical and orderly registration of parcels of land in a designated area known as systematic adjudication area. For further information on the systematic land registration process, including declared systematic adjudication areas, who can apply and the benefits, visit the National Land Agency's website at www.nla.gov.jm or email asknla@nla.gov.jm. The National Land Agency, one goal.
Thank you for staying with us. One of the key initiatives from the Ministry of Agriculture following the passage of Hurricane Melissa is our renewed push for Jamaicans to start backyard gardens to strengthen national food security. Our next feature will show you how to get started, especially if you're living in urban Jamaica. Think you need a big backyard to grow food? Think again. Even a balcony or a small corner can grow more than you expect. Today, we're looking at simple tips to help you make the most of small space gardening. Come with me. Shanta grew up in a home where planting food was simply part of everyday life. Watching her parents sow and reap from their backyard quietly rooted in her a lasting impression.
The very first thing I planted was tomatoes. I got seeds, and that's just it. I didn't plan for it specifically to start at that time, but my mommy gave me some seeds, and I just planted them, and they came up because I didn't expect them to grow. And when they started growing, then I was like, okay, this is it. When I started, I did have a pot that I started in, but I later started using like buckets. I even have a chiffon container that I had, butter dishes that I used to start seeds. So it's pretty much whatever you have available that works. So buckets, I got a planter box made, and that was just with scrap wood. So spend a lot of money to get it started.
As her garden expanded, she faced a common challenge.
I didn't have a lot of soil. So I started looking at things that would grow in shallow soil. So that's when I kind of branched out. So information is kind of just out there for everybody. So I just went online and looked up what could grow in certain soils based on what I have already and how much light and everything that I had, and I just worked with that. Today,
her space boasts several crops.
I recently planted about 7 varieties of peppers that are coming up now. So there's also scotchy included in that. I have some lettuce seedlings coming up, both lettuce plants, pak choy, more tomatoes that are not doing very well, but I have more seedlings coming up so I can always start again. I have cabbage, cucumbers, I have a pumpkin that's not doing too well, but that's fine. I have cantaloupe that's coming up as well, and basil, and I'm forgetting the rest, but it's quite a few.
Once she understood how sunlight affects her plants, it made a world of difference.
Some plants kind of require more than others. Like for lettuce, it does need maybe like 6 hours, but if it's less, you can put it in a more shaded area, because it can start at, I think, pretty much anywhere. But I just kind of watched the spot that I wanted to plant in and saw how the sun moved throughout the day, and then decided if I could use something that needed heavy, like a lot of sun in that area, like corn and those things we grow in buckets, it needs a lot of sun. So I just picked the area with the most sun and put what's needed there, and everything else that's more shaded, I'll plant them there. So you can use the space as much as possible. pak choy lettuce. Very shallow soil. It does need to be rich, like nitrogen and sulfate, which it's not too hard to get, but I think pak choy lettuce and kalaloo grows like weeds. So if you have just a little bit of seeds, you can get a ton of plants from it, and you can cut and come again with those as well. So that's also encouraging. So you can have a lettuce, you cut the outer leaves, you can use those, and it just keeps growing until it goes to seed. So that's a pretty good way to start. And like I said, it's encouraging. So once you see that, you're going to want to naturally try other things, but that's a good place to start.
Rainwater is her favorite irrigation source. To conserve moisture, she mulches with fallen leaves and organic matter.
I was trying my best to stick to like natural pesticide methods, but it wasn't always successful. Sometimes it is helpful, but when it gets really, really bad, I did have to just go to the farm store and get a chemical pesticide. But for the most part, neem oil, dish soap, and it was recommended, like you ferment, you blend garlic and leave it there overnight and then strain it off and use that to spray the plants, because it does deter pests. It does work to an extent, but when it gets worse, sometimes you do have to go to the chemicals.
No yard, no problem. Small backyard farming shows that good food can grow anywhere.
You don't have to procrastinate. And if you really want to do it, every day that you delay, it's a longer time that you have to wait for your first harvest. Every sprout, every blossom, every fruit, that is enough.
Did you know that there are certain areas across Jamaica where sounding your car horn or making loud noise from your vehicles is an offense? Under the Road Traffic Regulations 2022, the authority may declare specific areas as silent zones. These zones are created to protect peace, especially around hospitals, schools, nursing homes, and other sensitive locations. In these silent zones, once the notice has been published, no loud noise can come from your vehicle, and no horn or warning device should be sounded during the specified hours. If you do, you're committing an offense. Now, there are important exceptions. If blowing your horn is reasonably required to prevent a collision, you will not be penalized. And of course, this rule does not apply to emergency vehicles. So, the next time you approach a silent zone, be mindful of the restrictions and abide by them.
Looks fun, right? Just take a second to think before you jump. It might look safe, but hidden rocks and shallow waters are real dangers. One bad jump can change everything. You can't always see what's under the surface. That's why it's never a good idea to dive into unknown waters. Always go in feet first and stay safe. I promise the thrill isn't worth the risk.
Recognizing the early signs of ADHD and autism in children is key to ensuring they receive the right support early. Our next feature will highlight these signs and explore the support available for parents. sooner you know, the better. Understanding children with neurodivergent conditions is crucial for providing the right support and creating environments where they can truly thrive. In this feature, we will delve into the complexities of two of these disorders, autism and ADHD, and explore the efforts being made to help Jamaican children flourish regardless of their unique realities.
Autism spectrum disorder, ASD, is a developmental disorder characterized by challenges in social interaction, communication, and repetitive behaviors. Children with autism may struggle with understanding social cues and forming relationships and may prefer to play alone. The systems vary and differ in each child, but among them, those on the spectrum might not make eye contact or respond to their names. ADHD, or Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, is a neurodevelopmental condition that affects a child's ability to focus, control impulses, and regulate activity levels. It is typically diagnosed in childhood and can persist into adulthood. Children with ADHD may struggle with sustaining attention, following instructions, or organizing tasks. They may seem forgetful or easily distracted.
The 2021 report by UNICEF showed that there are 16 million children between the ages of 10 and 19 in Latin America and the Caribbean who have mental disorders. In Jamaica, we are about 1 in 7. However, because our resources are so limited in terms of the state resources and so on, a lot of the children go unidentified. It is important that we identify our children early so that we can provide the necessary accommodations and interventions that they need to be successful.
Early intervention is essential if you've identified any of the symptoms linked to autism or ADHD. Fortunately, there are advocates like the Z Learning Center, which has been a steadfast supporter of the Ministry of Education, helping to ensure that every child receives the necessary support.
Once a parent comes in and we do an assessment, it is then sent to the Ministry of Education. So, for instance, a child who is in grade 4 who is assessed and is doing PEP, grades 4, 5, or 6. Once we do the assessment and the recommendation the child needs a shadow, or the child needs a scribe, or the child needs a reader, that is sent to the Ministry of Education, and they then provide the accommodations for the children.
Established in 2015, Z Learning Center provides full psychosocial assessments for children on the autism spectrum and those showing signs of ADHD.
We know that all children are capable of learning. They may learn differently, and they may learn not in the same way and the same day as a regular child. So we call children that we deal with predominantly neurodivergent children, as opposed to neurotypical children who are seen as a regular child.
Early intervention programs are very important to assess the needs of a child, and that includes both psychosocial and educational assessments. These assessments help identify children on the spectrum, those who may be dyslexic, have ADHD, or other developmental delays.
When a parent or a pediatrician recommends a child because they may see some developmental delays, such as the child may be nonverbal, the parent comes and the first thing we do is a consultation. We ask what they're seeing or what the referral is from the pediatrician. We then take the parent through a rigorous interview, and we then send documents to the teachers who may have had interactions with the child, as well as we do direct observations as well of the child. The entire process can take up to 4 hours depending on the age of the child. We have been assessing children as young as 2 years and 6 months who present with profiles of being on the autism spectrum. So you can appreciate that a 2-year-old may be different from a 10-year-old in terms of the length of the assessment. So we do also have early intervention, which we start at 3-year-olds and we go all the way to 7-year-olds.
Creating an educational plan after assessment is crucial, with each plan tailored to the child's specific needs to ensure their developmental success.
We have been working with quite a few preschools who they have seen children who are on the spectrum, and so they send the children here for what we call early intervention. The early intervention lasts for a year, and then the children are reintegrated into preschool. So when they come to us, they are for the most part nonverbal. They don't respond to their names. They don't maintain eye contact, which are, red flags as to a child being on the spectrum. We work with them, and then they are reintegrated into their regular preschool. It is important that parents are involved, because the school alone cannot help a child to be successful, because we need parents to be able to carry out the same activities at home.
It's important to remember that while autism cannot be cured, children can learn to cope with the disorder and diagnosis. Similarly, intervention is available for the range of neurodivergent conditions children face. So the sooner you know, the better.
Parents, please don't be overwhelmed if you think your child is on the spectrum. It is not a death sentence. Autism is something that can be worked with. Your child can be just as successful. There are many celebrity, I would say, persons who are autistic, people who are also ADHD. Simone Biles, who is the most decorated gymnast in the United States, is ADHD. However, we need to have our children's best interest at heart. And so the earlier we diagnose and remediate, the better it is for our children.
For the introduction of proper traceability of animals and products of animal origin, countries have implemented systems to ensure the safety of food and also for disease surveillance purposes. So the NATS, National Animal Identification and Traceability System, and the legislation requires that every bovine animal must be tagged. And it also requires that if an animal is being sold, it must have a cattle passport, and it must be fitted with a NATS tag in both ears. So anyone engaged in the sale of cattle, they would have committed an act against the law if the animals would not have been properly tagged and issued with a passport.
Right off the bat, is there a difference between being religious and being spiritual? Our upcoming feature opens that conversation, offering a clear and thoughtful perspective. Please take a look.
Spiritual are just natural thing, but religious thing, a man create religion. But spirituality are from before creation, I bring man and woman together, spiritual connection. But religion a man-made thing. I cause war all over the world,
Take a walk out your halfway tree if you want to see suffering.
Welcome to the start of another He Says, She Says series, where we express our perspectives on topics such as relationships, workplace habits, careers, and other issues, more frequently discussed in silos, but we are now bringing to the forefront. Joining us today are Reverend Winston Peku, Chairman and Chaplain of the Frankfield Primary School Board, and the resident pastor for the Frankfield and Grantham Circuit of Churches of the Church of God in Jamaica. Business owner Adermi Mitchell, and Region 6 President for the Jamaica Association of Guidance Counselors in Education, Avina Henry. All right, so the question is there a distinction between being religious and being spiritual? Rev, I want to start with you.
Even though the two words are used interchangeable at times, there are distinctions. As I said earlier on, religion is institutionalized. Yes, it is community and tradition, it is doctrines and dogma, while spirituality is an individual thing. And as our brother said that, sometimes you don't really want to go, but as it might not go to church, but you're spiritual, you know that you have to keep the relationship with God going. So it's an individual thing in your spiritual eyes.
All right, so how do you make that distinction and even choose your own spiritual or religious path? That's a question I want to ask.
You see, it's based again upon information, what you have heard. Because you don't know about God. You can't know about God unless you hear about Him.
Or read about Him.
Or read about Him. So you read, you hear, and it is your reading and hearing that will direct you. And you see, what you hear and what I hear, we can hear the same thing but come to a different conclusion based on nurture and environment. Mm-hmm. Because you see we live in Jamaica and you see we live in our world. Many people are hearing the same gospel every day but respond differently to it. So it is you who decide how you go about it. See, if you open up and allow the Holy Spirit to direct you, then you can't go wrong.
All right, so my final question I want to throw out, is it important to focus on spirituality? Avina, I want to bring you in right here.
I want to say yes, it is very important. And for that, I'm sitting here and I'm listening, and you have to be careful of the religion you're a part of. Because religion can be good and it can be bad. It depends on the type, because in our religion, as he talks about, there are different ethics, there are laws, there are things that you're supposed to do in some of them. So as individuals, we have to be careful of the religion that we're a part of. That will not lead us down to destruction. So I will now answer your question about spirituality, that it is important for us to pay attention to the spiritual parts of our lives and be connected to the right source that will lead us to do good, to be one another's keeper, and to be a positive influence in our society. So yes, we should pay attention to our spiritual part of our lives.
And I say that man is a spirit. He lives in a body and he has a soul.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I want to ask another question. Does choosing a religious path create division among people? Because remember, we are relational beings and not everybody may choose the same path. But does it create division? And then what advice would you give on a person looking to choose their spiritual journey?
And I balance it again. History is replete that religion has caused a lot of war. There's no hiding, there's no going around, but there's no dismissing that. But also, history is replete that religion has caused a lot of peace. Mm-hmm. So one has to be careful. You notice what is happening in the Middle East between Israel and all of those things, the Arab against the Jews and all of those things. That is also a religious war. Mm-hmm. So you see that religion does bring war. And even the church, if you do church history and at all, there was an East and the West church, and there was a time when once you mentioned earlier on about, evangelism and all those things, people was usually called some people witches, and they would have killed them. The church did that. Mm-hmm. Because they were of a different religion. But if you follow Jesus, that is, as you said, we have to care for the religion. Many people take religion, and religion leads to a different way. But Jesus is the only way to God.
So, Adarmi, I want to bring you in right here. What advice would you give to somebody trying to decide their spiritual journey?
My advice to anyone that is trying to decide which spiritual journey or which religion they want to get into, at the end of the day, that we are all human beings, right? So treat our brothers and sisters the same way how you like to be treated.
Okay, Avina, you're as a counselor, what advice would you give somebody that is looking to decide on that spiritual journey?
I will send them to go and read the holy words. When you read the words and you leave self out of it and allow God himself to lead you, you will get the answer. You will find the answer because you'll be guided by the Holy Spirit. Even in counseling, you have to have Christian counseling because you will not be successful. You cannot be successful unless the Spirit of the Lord is present. You will not get the results that you need.
All right, to help our people, what advice would you give someone embarking on a spiritual journey? I want to start with Adermi.
That's for anyone who's embarking on a spiritual journey, as our commander says, in terms of, you have to have people that are around you to help you, support you with that spiritual journey, because it's evil and good is real. That's how we can put it as. So you want good people around you to help form you and guide you along that way.
Okay. Perfect. All right. That's a perfect way to end. And that's where we end our He Says, She Says conversation. Stay tuned for more. Our guests were Reverend Winston Peku, Avina Henry, and Adermi Mitchell. Thanks for watching. I'm Andre Palmer. Take care.
Okay.
One of the problems that occurred in the past was the significant delay in the issuing of warrants for persons who did not pay at the tax office and did not attend the court. And so what happened there was that a culture of impunity had developed, where persons felt that when they received a ticket from the police, they could simply ignore it. So where we are now is that we are now current with the issuing of warrants in respect of the current cases. So what that means is that for persons who do not pay at the tax office, don't attend the court, the warrants are being issued and will be issued, and you will be arrested and brought before the court. If you do not wish to come to court, then go to the tax office. Also, you have the option of contesting it, so you don't pay at the tax office, but you must turn up at court on the date and time stated in the summons. Failing that, a warrant will be issued and you will be brought before the court.
We often say it's all good, but sometimes that feels like a stretch. Good Friday can feel that way too. What's good about an innocent man suffering, carrying pain and a punishment he didn't deserve? At first glance, it feels heavy, even unfair, but then it becomes personal. It wasn't just for everyone, it was for me, for you. Like our names were written on a list of the redeemed. Because the truth is, carrying our own mistakes is already a burden. Carrying everyone else's, impossible. Yet, he did it. And even if it's hard to admit, that kind of love, quiet, sacrificial, undeserved, is someone looking out for us in the deepest way. Yes, the journey was marked by sweat, tears, and blood. But through that sacrifice comes cleansing, hope, and a new life. And that's the good in Good Friday. This is where we wrap up today's program. I hope you've been informed, inspired, and uplifted. Join us again tomorrow for another engaging edition of Jamaica Magazine right here on this station. If you have missed any part of today's show, you can catch the repeat and more stories at jis.gov.jm. I'm Kadia Loy Knight. Thanks for watching, and as always, what good.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.